Hey, what's up? You're watching The Sit Down. I'm DJ Sixsmith. Brian Falduto's here with us. Got a lot going on these days. What's up, man?
Hi, how are ya?
Good to meet you. How's everything?
Everything's good.
Keeping busy. You got the podcast, you got music.
So much. But yes, it's all good stuff, so I'm excited.
Nice. So why don't we talk about the development here? Like, you did the acting thing as a kid.
Yeah.
You've gotten into music. Like, kind of walk me back through the whole timeline here. How did you kind of grow things out?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the most recent work has come from just like the past 3 or 4 years, but I did do the child actor thing, and then I like gave up on that for a while, and I just decided to do like a normal high school thing, which was fine. And then I majored in theater in college, did a bunch of weird stuff out of college. I worked in radio for a while, PR for a while. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, and then I just kind of locked into coaching, and yeah.
Yeah, I feel like you kind of need the time to figure stuff out. You should try a bunch of different things. And it's also nice, I'm sure, that you had a high school and college experience, because like the child acting thing could have swallowed you up. So what was it like making that decision at the time?
Yeah, especially if you're going to be a coach, right? Because I feel like you got to like take some time to figure stuff out so you can help other people figure stuff out. But yeah, I mean, it took me a while, and the child actor thing can swallow you up, yeah, and it did. And I think that's kind of why I avoided things for so long, because there was a lot of pressure on me at a young age. So I think I had to figure out like my way outside of what everyone was telling me to do, you know what I mean?
And what were people telling you to do at that time?
Well, there was just a lot of pressure, because I hit success kind of young. So like my version of success was twisted, I feel like, because no matter what I did, it wasn't going to be bigger than like this huge thing that I did. So it was like I had to kind of reinvent the word success for myself, which ends up being subjective, I find, and I think that success should just be measured by how happy you are every day. And so I had to like figure out what I actually want to do to make me happy. And it turns out it is performing and telling stories and helping other people tell their stories. So I wasn't wrong as a kid. I was on the right track, but now I feel like I'm doing it more on my terms.
Yeah, you just look for what fulfills you. And when it comes to coaching people, like what do you kind of focus on with them, and what's it been like tapping into those skills?
Yeah, so it's all about storytelling. So I'm a storyteller, I write music, I perform, and then through my coaching I help other people with a story they want to share. A lot of times we're not putting out our most authentic story into the world because of the story that we're telling ourselves, which was my case for a really long time. We get a little trapped up in, you know, all these narratives that we're telling ourselves, and they don't really serve us. And we want to change those out to things that empower us and make us actually go out there and do what we want to do. And so that's I don't know if that answered your question, but that's
that gets to the heart of it, because you're living your life, and sometimes you're afraid of telling people who you actually are, what actually is going on in your life, because people don't always respond in a positive way. So for you, like, what was it like identifying yourself in terms of your sexuality and just telling people who you are? I'm sure for a long time that wasn't an easy thing.
No, it definitely wasn't an easy thing, especially because I was pegged at such a young age as gay.
Right.
And I was 10, so I didn't even know what being gay was. I just knew that it was a bad thing and that I shouldn't do it. But that was back in the day when there wasn't as much like support around it, and there wasn't as much representation. So it was tough being like one of the 5 things in the media that was referring to it. And yeah, so like me coming out took a long time, because I was in such denial from such a young age. And then I did finally come out, but then I still wasn't out, you know. My real coming out was me like actually being authentic and sharing who I actually am. Because when you come out after such like a toxic relationship with sexuality, it's like you're not really who you are yet. You're just who you think you now should be, because you're like, what is a gay man? How do I fit into that? Who am I now that I'm in this new label? And yeah, so it's like there's still so much to navigate until you actually find like who you are.
So what age were you when you felt fully comfortable, fully authentic and living that way?
Oh, I'm still getting there.
Yeah. No, it's a process, because especially if you're taught from a young age to be like, this is bad, this is evil. And it's like, no, everyone's just made differently. Yeah. And everybody has their own situation going on.
Yeah, and we're all like constantly a work in progress. I never ever pitch myself as someone who has the answers. I'm just someone who's become really passionate about what that looks like for yourself and figuring that out. And so I just want to walk with people while they're doing it, and I have people walking with me while I'm doing it. It's not like me being like, I will tell you how to do it. It's just like, let's partner up and do it together. Like it's difficult to kind of honor yourself and be true to yourself.
Yeah, we're all working through stuff. We're constantly trying to figure it out. And I'm sure music is a good place to kind of pour into that. So what's that been like? And especially like the new song too. What were some things you were trying to work out there?
Yeah, well, music has been kind of like the most helpful way that I've found my voice. Because music's cool because you can hide behind it. You can say something that you don't want to say like directly in a song.
Face, right?
And so it was the first time I put down on paper like things that I actually thought and felt, and they were things that I was hurting about, and I put them down and then I played them for people and they were like, oh my God, me too. And it was this beautiful moment of connection, and I was like, awesome, I want to connect with people more like that, where they actually know what I'm going through. And so it was empowering knowing that like if you're honest about what's going on for you, you can find that authentic connection, which I had never experienced. Everything up till that was like me trying to like play this game as to how do I fit in, how do I advance myself, how do I get people to like me.
Yeah, it's super isolating when you're going through something like that, but then you become vulnerable, you start to share stuff about yourself, people respond to that, and I feel like music is probably a good way to kind of bridge the gap between life and some of these tougher conversations.
Yeah, I mean, it's a coping mechanism for so many people, I feel like. Music is just like a great outlet. You put on a sad song when you're feeling sad, and it makes you feel less alone.
Yeah, I feel you. So when you did School of Rock, like you're a kid, like what was the feeling back then? Like did you want to be a child actor? Like how did you get into the whole thing?
Yeah, no, I just wanted attention. I was this diva, sassy kid. I mean, everyone saw me on TV. I was just walking around, like, demanding people pay attention to me. And so my parents were, like, fine, and they, like, got me a manager, and they were very supportive and wonderful, and I did a lot of acting things in middle school, and then I, like, kicked back for a little bit. At my parents' recommendation, which I really appreciate.
So how old when you got a manager?
School of Rock was my second professional audition ever.
And how old were you at that point?
I was 10.
Wow.
Yeah, and so I obviously thought I was like the world's biggest deal because my second audition, I was like, boom, got it.
And that movie was obviously a huge thing too, and you're working with a ton of kids, so like, what do you remember about that audition process?
Oh, it was long. I went in like 9 times.
Wow.
I had to sing. I didn't even sing in the movie. The audition process was crazy. The process of the movie itself, people are always like, do you ever regret it? Because it did have a lot of backlash as far as like, you know, people viewing me in like a way and not affecting me and whatnot. But no, I've never for once regretted it. It was one of the most amazing experiences I've ever had. That vibe on set was magical, and we knew we were doing something really cool. And that movie it's inspired so many people to pick up instruments. It's so important. So I'm so happy I was part of it.
Yeah, I mean, people are still talking about it all these years later. Like, when you think about that character, like, how was it developed? Was it, like, did you have any input in it as a kid? Or was it like, this is what Billy's gonna look like, this is who Billy is, this is how he acts? Like, how did that all go down?
I didn't have any input. I think my input was me just being fascinatingly interesting, and they were like, continue doing
They're like,
that.
let's build on this, Let's use this sassiness and build it into a character.
Yeah, they were like, we have to use this somehow. Because my character didn't even exist before I auditioned. They like created it for me.
Oh, that was an add-on, okay.
Yeah. I came in and I sang a boy soprano rendition of Send in the Clowns.
Wow.
And they were like, okay.
Like, we like this kid, we're gonna find a role for him, let's make it happen.
I was like, okay, cool. But you had asked about the song that I'm releasing.
Yeah.
It's called, I'm so excited. So I mainly write country music. That's the genre I subscribe to, supposedly. But I love country music, and country music has a lot of church songs. And so I decided to write a church song about my experience growing up in church as a gay man. And so it's called God Loves Me Too. And I think it's going to be an interesting message for people to swallow who might not be used to hearing a church song in that style. But it's really just my story, and it's how I feel. So.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because in faith circles, these are conversations that are happening all the time, and I'm sure you've seen both sides of the aisle, and I've seen it in my life too, and it's something that people are still working through, and I feel like your song can probably help with that, and sort of helping people to understand your life, because I feel like people don't still understand the gay life, and that's crazy to say in 2020, but we kind of need to talk about it more.
Yeah, I mean, it is something that people are really struggling with. Religion remains one of the most difficult topics for queer youth to navigate because of the pressure, and like, no one actually is talking about it. Everyone's just being really vague and shady, I feel like, and no one's actually, I remember when I was younger, I would be like, if it's so wrong, why is no one telling me? There was just like this rumor going around that like being gay was wrong, you know? But no one's actually saying it. And so in this song, I'm saying, God loves you too.
How much do you think it would have helped at that point in your life to have people like yourself who are singing about this, to have counseling therapy? Because like a lot of it, I'm sure you just kept to yourself.
Yeah, yeah, there was like, Will and Grace was around, but I wasn't made aware of these things somehow. I think that was also selective on my part, because I just wanted to run from so much of what was going on. And I just wanted to blend in. So I was like, what are all the other boys watching? So I was like, I think it's selective. I think that even though there's so much available now, people could very easily choose to not tune into it. So it's up to them and whether they want to face that part of themselves or like share that with other people, you know what I mean?
So how did life change for you after School of Rock? Like you had all these different things that you were interested in. Like how did you kind of figure things out? Because it's already hard enough to be a middle school kid and a high school kid and you got this on top of it.
Yeah.
What was that like?
Like to what I'm doing now?
Yeah, just to navigate going from being a child actor, like just trying to blend in middle school, having done that movie, to now evolving to be like, no, I got the life coach thing, I got the podcast, music. Like how does that transition happen?
Well, I think the answer is that like every answer that I ever thought was for me and for what I want to do was outside of myself. But it actually turns out like every answer to like everyone's situation, I believe, involves their relationship with themselves. And like the answers are all in here. And so me figuring out what I want to do was actually just me continuing to go back into myself and be like, what is my true desire in this moment, and what's going to make me most happy, which was never the question for a really long time. It was happiness wasn't even the objective. It was just success and blending in. So it was, it just involved this huge dive back into myself, which is why I'm so passionate about coaching, because that's what we do. We dive into people's narratives and we discover like what the obstacle is between them and what they want to do. Yeah,
and your narrative was kind of shaped. It's like you're known for this one line your whole life. I'm sure people are coming up and saying you're tacky and I hate you. And it's like there's much more to me as a person. I'm sure as a coach that's really important too, because like society really pigeonholes you, but there's much more to a person. So I'm sure that's something you focus on as well.
Yeah, and thank you for not asking me to say the line.
Yeah, no, I think you've done that a million times. So when people check out your music, what are some big takeaways you want them to have?
Well, the music that I'm going to be releasing is a little more like powerful. I feel like it's, I'm saying things I believe in now. Everything before that was a little bit more of a victim standpoint, I feel like. Again, I was living in a lot of toxicity with myself and with other people, and so I think that was really reflected in my music, which is beautiful because we need those songs too, right? Because people need to hear. We need to meet them where they're at with music. But right now, I feel a little bit more empowered, and so I'm saying things finally, and God Loves Me Too is a great example of that.
Awesome, man. Keep doing it. Really nice to meet you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much.
Appreciate
When can people check out the new music and everything?
Hopefully very soon.
All right, good deal. For Brian, I'm DJ. See you next time here on The Sit Down.